Hello, hello, Allison.
Hi, Andrea.
And hello, listeners. This is a
Yeah,
fun
hello.
episode, Allison. We're recording on an unusual day for you and me, different day, hanging out together. So we have gotten a couple awesome reviews from you guys, and those mean so much to us. And you've been sharing us in your stories on Instagram, which always makes us freak out. So thank you for that. I'm going to read a review that one of you left, and then so many people keep asking, what are different things we can do to support the podcast? And I appreciate that question so much because it is a lot of work. And I love having you guys participate with us and help us get this thing rolling. So I'm going to read this review, Allison, and then why don't we just share like top 7 ways that people can support the podcast? How's that sound?
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good.
So this review was from Nutty Futures. It's called Homemade Soup for the Soul, which I love that. And they say, listening to Allison and Andrea feels like having afternoon tea with 2 good friends. They're as inspiring as they are down to earth. And every episode I learn something new about ancestral food, bodies, careers, and everything in between. Keep up the amazing work. Oh my gosh,
Wow.
Thank you for that. That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Nutty Futures. That's
Yeah,
kind.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we kind of we're here to let you know, chatting to let you know what you can do to support us. And we've got 7 ways, and we tried to make sure we're covering every kind of situation. So whatever your situation is, you can find a way to get involved and to support what we're up to. So the first one, can I go with the first one, Andrea?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. So the first one is just to share what we're doing. You know, if you've got a friend who loves being in the garden and loves cooking and they haven't listened to us before, share the podcast with them. Listen to an episode together while you're doing something, or talk about it over the garden fence.
Yeah,
Talk to people about what we're up to. Send an episode on to someone. In my podcast app, I can find a button by a podcast called Share, and I can then forward a podcast on via email or some other way. So forward an episode on to someone if there's something that kind of strikes you while you're listening. And if you're on social media, do share what we're up to. Share your thoughts on episodes, repost something that we've posted, anything that you can do to get us out in front of more people who you think would really benefit and enjoy what we're doing. Feel free to tag us on Instagram because we're there quite often. But anything that you do from any of those things, just if it's sharing it with one person, makes a difference to us and helps us get the message out further. So yeah, that's the first thing. Share what we're up to. Do you want to go with number 2, Andrea?
Yeah. You know how whenever you go to the dentist or like a roofing company or something, and there's a sign that says, the best compliment you can give us is a referral to a friend.
Yeah. And it's so
That's
true.
really true. Okay, number 2, I like this one. Make something directly or indirectly inspired by the podcast and tell us all about it. Like send us a picture or post it online or just make us drool. Post a picture of your food. I do love seeing those pictures you guys post, and I would love it if you send it to us or tagged us or some way so that we could go and check it out. But when you do that, and I've seen some of you have posted like, oh, this is a picture of something I made. I was listening to the Ancestral Kitchen podcast. It inspired me. That's literally what we're like. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, completely. I love it when
drives us.
I see or read about something that someone listening has made because they were listening to us or because they went off on a tangent because of something one of us said.
Yeah.
And it feels wonderful to have that kind of, it feels like almost cooking it together, you know, or eating it together. It's the next best thing. So yeah, do let us know if you do that, because we want to see.
Yeah.
For sure. So the next one is linked to what Andrea read at the beginning. You can leave us a review. And there are only 2 places, as far as we know, that you might be listening where you could do that. The first one's Apple Podcasts. And I know that the largest percentage of our audience listens to Apple. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
listening on the Apple Podcast app now, there are instructions on how you can review us in the show notes, but I wanted to go over it very quickly now. So you open your app and you find Ancestral Kitchen Podcast in the library. If you've got so many podcasts there you can't find it, you can search for it. Then you scroll down. There's a section at the bottom called Ratings and Reviews. And then there's an option there called Write a Review. So you have two places under that Write a Review. You can choose how many stars you would like to give us. Obviously, I'm going up towards the 5 in that option. And then you title your review. And then there's a box that you can review us using up to 300 words. So if you want to pause right now and go to your app, if you're listening on Apple, and do that, that would be wonderful. I think you know how to do it on Spotify, Andrea, don't you?
Well, I looked up how to do it on Spotify. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts. That counts. You know
So,
more than me.
so on Spotify, find the show. And then when you're on the main podcast page, those 3 little horizontal lines on the podcast cover, when you're in the app, click those, and then you can click rate show. And please leave a 5-star review. Of course, we love 5-star reviews. Also, something interesting, Allison, that I learned about Spotify was you have to listen to a few episodes before you can rate a show, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
I guess that makes sense.
I like that. Yeah.
Because then you have a better feel for the show.
Yeah.
And I looked on our podcast, whatever hosting thing, and it says that 39% of listeners use Apple Podcasts. That's the biggest percentage by far.
Okay.
And 9.8% are using Spotify. So,
and the other however
so
many percent are using
those,
a million different apps.
yeah, there's so many. Those 2 platforms use your reviews and ratings to determine if shows are like worthy of showing up in like the carousels of like, oh, you would like this show, or like if you've rated this show and like Wise Traditions and like Rob Greenfield or something, then when somebody's like listening to one of those, it says, hey, you might also like, you know, listeners of this show also like Ancestral Kitchen. So it definitely helps a lot, because then the podcasts, like with your review, the podcast apps are kind of passively promoting us in a way. So
yeah, and it helps our morale as well.
Yeah.
When we're recording podcast after podcast, when we read that, we're like, hey, yeah, this is good. What we're doing is good. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done 1, share what we're doing. 2, make something. I like that one. And 3, leave us a review. I think we want to talk about Patreon now, for some of the other steps. So we set up a Patreon a while ago, but we set it up really quite simply with just 1 level. And we've had some fabulous patrons come on, wonderful conversations started, connections made. We've had patrons come and talk on the Patreon private podcast. It's just been wonderful. And both of us are very keen on community building and supporting as much as possible those who are interested in continuing, starting, or going much deeper into ancestral living and cooking and eating and sustainable eating. And so we have revamped our Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's an online subscription service which enables you to support your favourite creators to help them continue to create. So any money that comes through the Patreon channel is supporting Andrea and I to keep the episodes going. Not just paying for the hardware and the software and the other stuff that we use and that Rob uses to edit, but also helping give us things back for the time and the energy that we're putting in to our work, And
I love it. Yeah, Patreon's really cool.
To carry on doing it. Yeah, Patreon is cool because it gives everyone around the world the opportunity to go, you know what, I I love what these people are doing, and I want to, pass them something, which is nice.
I know some people call it the coffee fund. They're like, hey, yeah, just give, they'll put like buy me a coffee on there or something. I think it's so funny.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun though, Allison, setting up the Patreon stuff, because you and I had, I don't know how many Zoom calls we had to work on this together. And asking Gary like all those questions, and Rob, what should we call the levels? So we should tell them what we went with for the levels, because just so you guys know, some options on the table included like scrambled eggs, poached eggs, cast iron pan, the big pan, the little pan, the teaspoon.
So no, the Patreon, our current Patreon now has 4 levels. So whereas before we just had one option with one amount and one set of benefits, we've now got 4. And those levels build on each other. So there's a level that has less benefits that people who want to support us on a lower level can go for. And then there are 3 levels above that build on that first level and offer more and more and more benefits. And each of those levels has a name. So that's what Andrea is talking about. We struggled to come up with names. But in the end, we got there. And we have the 4 levels. The first one is called sponsorship. The second one is our companionship level. The third one is our stewardship level. And then the last one is our ancestral mentorship level. And I think it'd be good to talk about briefly what the benefits are of each of the levels and explain why we made them. Do you want to start with sponsorship, Andrea?
So we'll start with sponsorship. Yeah. So sponsorship is, am I saying the prices? Because it'll be different in different countries, but at least it gives them a ballpark, right?
Yeah, it gives you whatever currency you are in. So you'll be seeing yours in dollars. I'm seeing mine in euros.
Okay.
So maybe just say what the dollar price is, and then people can go and look if they're in a different currency.
Okay, so sponsorship is $5 a month. What's that in euros?
$4.50.
Okay, so pretty close. All right, so $5 a month, and the benefits of sponsorship is me and Allison staying on the air.
I'll still be here.
It's mainly just to sponsoring the podcast generously, and it also includes Allison and I. Oh my goodness, this was another thing we went back and forth on for so long. We wanted a place where you guys can connect and talk to each other, because all of you talking to us were like, oh, this person would love to talk to that person, or that person has what this person needs. How do we get you guys all in touch with each other? So we wanted to set up some kind of a forum where we could talk and visit, and just leave messages for each other. And Instagram doesn't work so well for that. And so we ended up deciding to use Discord, which also conveniently links up with Patreon. So when you become a sponsor of the podcast on the sponsorship level, Patreon will send you an invitation to a private group that Allison and I made on Discord. I don't think group is the right word. It's all these weird terms that I don't understand. But then you can jump into there and just participate in a conversation with the other patrons and us if you want to. So that comes with the sponsorship level.
Awesome. The next level up is companionship. And this one I feel incredibly strongly about, because I think so many of us are dispersed in so many places in the globe and don't necessarily have a community of real people around us that can support us on the journeys that we want to be on. And so this level is all about being together and being in community with the listeners and with us. And in dollars, it's $12 a month. In euros, it works out at $10.50. You can see if you look on patreon.com Ancestral Kitchen Podcast. Should have said that before. If you want to follow along, go and type that in your URL, patreon.com/Ancestral Kitchen Podcast, and you can look at these while we're talking about them. So this one is just all about being together and sharing and learning from each other, diving deeper in. So if you love the podcast and you want more and you want to be around people who want more, then look at this level to start with. So we've got the, when you come in at this level, not only will you be helping us still stay on air, And you'll also have the forum that Andrew was talking about on Discord. But you also get Kitchen Table Chats, which is our exclusive Patreon-only monthly podcast, which is more informal than the main podcast feed. We kind of it's like sitting together having a cup of tea and we chat. We also have other interviews on there with people which don't go on the main podcast feed. They go on this Kitchen Table Chats feed. We have a library called our Treasure Trove, where we put recipes, we're putting how-tos, PDFs, booklets that we've made, videos. Just this week, 2 videos and 2 documents went up on there that are associated with our fats episode. So we have that. We also have kind of after-show chats that we've had when we turn the recording button off on podcasts, but we carry on talking. We're putting some of those up there. And you have the option also of asking us to cover things on our private feed. So if you've got a burning question, you're struggling with a fermentation project or a sourdough, let us know what you want us to talk about, and we will. Lastly, an add-on to that Discord kind of world, we are going to very soon have monthly community gatherings, which will be live, and you will have the option of coming in on video or audio, and those gatherings will be recorded, so if you can't make it, you can listen to them later. And that's to actually be together. And some of them will have themes and we'll talk about certain things. Some of it will just be questions. Some of it will be chats. So it's kind of access to us and access to all the other patrons and sharing for an hour every month. So those are going to start soon. And all of those things are part of the companionship level, and you'll be supporting us. I think that's all the companionship level. There's quite a lot. Do you want to do the next one, Andrea, the stewardship?
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is stewardship. This one's $50 per month. What is that in euros?
Oh, hang on a minute. I went up too far.
Okay.
$43.50.
Okay, $43.50. All right, so this is for somebody with extra resources that you want to just put into the podcast. We are here for it, and we are so excited to offer this option just for anybody who wants to just put more into the podcast. You get the Discord benefits. Of course, keep the podcast on the air, the ad-free or free media, or whatever we're calling it these days. Got the Kitchen Table Chats podcast, which is, Allison, that podcast is turning out to be like amazing.
Yeah, it's such fun to record.
I mean,
it
it
really is.
started
And I know the patrons love it.
Yeah, it started so simply, and it's just really growing. You've got the Treasure Trove, which is all that extra content with the recipes and the PDFs and things you can download, video links and things like that. Got the after show, which Allison, so what Allison and I do is record on Zoom, then we stop recording, and then we can't help ourselves. We end up talking for another 10 or 20 minutes afterwards. And sometimes we get even more in depth than we went on the podcast. And sometimes I always said to Allison, well, we should have got this on the podcast. Like, this was really good. Why did we leave this here? So now I've started just hitting record again as soon as we are done with the podcast. And then if it's, worthwhile, which it always is, because it's Allison and she's amazing, then I put it up on that Kitchen Table Chats podcast.
Yeah. And
so you can hear 10 or 15 minutes. So, I mean, sometimes we talk about stuff like, oh, did you go on to the website and upload the thing, but
and we don't post those ones.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not all edited and not edited isn't the right word. It's not all clean audio as good as the podcast is. It's just kind of like,
as it comes,
whatever the
real
computer
life
picked up. Yeah. And then, ask us to cover something in the Kitchen Table Chats podcast, so you can ask a question and Allison and I will go over it. And then you also, on this level, just as an additional thank you for putting this much resource into the podcast, Allison is giving you access to her Boza course, the probiotic millet drink. So you can go on and watch that and make it. You also get 30% off all of her courses, and Allison is always creating more courses. And if you ever come out this way where I am, you get 30% off any of the camping or glamping stays that you put together on the farm.
Nice. I think this level is is exciting, because we have lots of ideas of things that we
Mhm.
want to do to push
So
forward
many.
what
Yeah.
we believe in and what you believe in. And that it can't be done without resources, as
Mhm.
everyone knows.
Yeah.
And people joining us on this level, if you do have extra funds that you want to put into something that is helping to create the food world that you want, then we will take that and do stuff with it. We've got so
Right.
many ideas and as many kind of resources on deck to help us with that, the more we can realise, which is incredibly wonderful for hopefully for everyone who's
Yeah.
involved.
I mean, the
Wonderful.
the the more we do this podcast, the longer we do it, the more opportunities, ideas, and possibilities are opening up to us.
Mm,
And of course, it all takes resource. So,
yeah.
having the patrons is just really just unleashes all kinds of options and things like that that we can do, which is phenomenal.
Awesome. So our last level is the ancestral mentorship level. And this level is really one-on-one support. It comes in at $120, which at the moment is 103 euros per
Mhm.
month. And this is for you if you want personal support and you think that having support on that level will make a difference to how you're showing up in the kitchen or how you're showing up in your kind of ancestral life. And as well as all of those benefits that we've talked about previously that are in the other levels, you get two additional things. The first one is a monthly 60-minute one-on-one video or audio call with either myself or with Andrea. And in that call, we can support you in any of the areas of ancestral food that you feel that you want to move forward in, and there's things that are stopping you. So if you are having problems fermenting, if you want to set up a homestead, if you want to start making sourdough bread and are feeling completely overwhelmed, if you want to know where to get ancestral food from, if you want to help with meal planning, if you're trying to do a 9 to 5 job and you don't know how to fit everything in, but you want to cook ancestrally, any of the things that we kind of cover and talk about in the podcast, each of us has a different kind of flavour, as you will know from listening to us, or getting to listen to us if you're just at the beginning of diving into our podcasts. And between us, we have a lot of different areas that we can support you in. So in addition to the one-on-one call, there's also a private forum on the Discord channel that Andrew was talking about earlier, where only ancestral mentorship level patrons will be. And that will be something that is a kind of a private group between the people who decide to come in at this deep level with us and share, for us to share and to have discussion between us. That forum for ancestral mentors is available to people, I think, whether they stay on this level or then whether they decide to later on go on to a different level. Is that right, Andrea?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
more the
That's the
Discord
idea.
expert. Yeah,
As long
okay,
as
it
we can
is.
make the Discord cooperate with, with
With
what
us,
we're
with
trying
what we
to
want in
do.
our heads. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you want to add
So
anything to
once
that
you,
level? Do you want to add anything to that level?
yeah. So
Did I
you
describe it
of
in the
course
right
get,
way?
yeah, you get all the benefits of everything that we said already. And
Yeah.
then once there is an additional private Discord forum or thread or whatever it's called, that once you've gone through the mentorship, you'll stay in there, you know, as long
Yeah.
as you want to,
Yeah.
realistically, as long as you're a patron of some form. Um, I think, Allison, that I
Mm.
would want to do this with you and have you go through that finding your why exercise. Like that was
Ah,
so good. The
from
one that you put on
the
the
extra from my weight
kitchen
loss
table chats.
podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot
Yeah,
of
I think,
the
Go on.
I was going to say not every episode, but a lot of the episodes that we put
Yeah.
out on the main podcast, we've created some additional content for it that goes up for the patrons, maybe a download or an exercise or a recipe, something, or a video or another short podcast episode. And the one that you created about finding your why was so good. I mean, it just points to every area in life. So I thought, oh man, I would do that one with Allison. That'd be really fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I did this podcast, I had I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years as a life coach. And I feel like the skills from that, the soft skills from that will help at this level. You know, if people want to come in, I'm not going to just say, oh, we can only talk about sourdough, you know. However our patrons want their kitchen, their food, their food world and their health to look, it's something that we can work hand in hand together to try to get the movement that they want. So, and I know sometimes in life you need that.
If you're joining this level, you've heard us on the podcast, and so you kind of know what we talk about, and so you might have an idea. And then of course we'll ask you before we get together, you know, what are your questions, and we'll prepare for those. And it'll be really fun.
That's it. So go and have a look at patreon.com/Ancestral Kitchen Podcast. Andrew did some wonderful graphics for the levels, and have a look at the different levels. Let us know what you think. And if you're of a mind to come and support us on one of those levels, you will be ever so welcome. Or, as we said at the beginning, you know, there are many other ways. There are many ways to share what we're doing, and we will take all of them. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you can do to get our voices amplified
thank you guys for asking
in the world is great. Yeah.
Thank you for asking. Like, what can we do?
Finally, we got round to organising ourselves a bit more to do it.
It took us a minute. We move in slow motion because Allison and I are in different time zones. So I send her a message and she's asleep, and then she wakes up and sees it and I'm asleep, you know. So every once in a while, a couple times you and I have actually been online at the same time, but it's really rare. So you know, we start to jump and then we jump very slowly.
Yeah. And of course, I'm usually busy fermenting something and you're busy with your birds. So, you know.
It happens.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the life. That's the path.
Okay. So thank you ever so much for listening.
Yeah.
Staying with us this long. And we will be back very shortly with another exciting episode, I hope.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.